results of the U.S. presidential election held on November 3rd are dubious at best. I've written a great deal about them. I'll continue writing about them. On the one hand, they are being challenged by Trump. I disagree with most everything he does and says, but I agree with him on this. There is hard evidence of voter fraud, not a little bit of voter fraud, a great deal of voter fraud. That's one issue. The idea of whether a new incoming government will operate differently from an outgoing one on relations with nations who are independent of U.S. control is virtually nil. Biden has made very hostile comments in the past about various countries. In an article I'm working on now, they include Venezuela by calling Nicolas Maduro a model Democrat, but Biden called him, this was last June, Biden called him a dictator, quote unquote. Well, there may be dictators in the U.S. and the West, but there were no dictators in Venezuela, none in Cuba, none in Iran, none in Russia, and on all the countries on the U.S. target list for regime change. And they aren't dictators. They're legitimate governments. They're not at war with anybody. The U.S. is at war with everybody it doesn't control, either by heart or other means. The possibility of improved relations with sovereign independent countries the U.S. does not control if Biden replaces Trump in January is virtually nil. It will not happen. It should happen, but it will not. Policies will stay the same. That's imperialism. U.S. policy throughout the post-World War II era is imperialism against nations it doesn't control to gain control over them by whatever means it takes. Wars, by hot means, by other means, by sanctions, anything it takes. The rule of law is irrelevant. The U.S. doesn't care about the rule of law. The U.S. wants to dominate other nations, their resources and populations, and hardwired U.S. policy. It will be the same under Biden as it is under Trump, as it was under Obama, as it was under Bush Cheney, as it was under the Clintons. It'll be exactly the same. These nations will be targeted for regime change, and my great fear about Biden is he may start another hot war. That's one thing Trump did not do, but Biden may do it. That's what I fear the most. He won't be making the decisions because he's cognitively and physically impaired, but others he'll put in his regime, they are the ones who will be calling the shots, and they may call shots for more wars, just the way Obama did. Biden was part of that. For 8 years, he may continue a policy that's very similar. One difference was joining the JCPOA by Obama. Biden won't go back to it unless Iran renegotiates it, which Iran will not, nor should it. So it may not, the U.S. may not re-enter the plan. But that's for another day. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, the U.S. election is being disputed. It's being litigated in courts. Serious litigation began today, Monday. Oh, it could go on for days or weeks. We'll see what happens. We don't know the outcome. The chance is slim for Trump remaining in office, but anything is possible.